That guitar color sundown now. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the NBA Live Before Lock Show presented by Yahoo. See, that's nicely done by me. I'm Eric Lindquist, excited to be talking NBA, which because I don't want to talk NFL anymore, that's for sure. Unless Cooper Kupp catches 500 footballs, I'm probably not going to make money on this slate, but I've got a guy over here that is going to help us make some money in the NBA streets to salvage our days in the event that you are like me and hate the NFL. Look at him. He looks so beautiful today. Matt LaMarca, how you doing, my dude?
I'm doing pretty well. You know, I was so excited yesterday. I was talking about all the free money that Caesars and all of the different sports books have been throwing at me as a New Yorker. And today I put that money to use. We're 3-0 to start the day.
Oh, look at you. Fire. Absolute fire. You know what? That's a great segue because mobile sports betting is active in New York right now. You just said it yourself. You need to take advantage of all these promotions right from the get-go. If you are in the state of New York, you're probably sad because, you know, the Giants and Jets exist and Buffalo's going to just put the hammer down. So it's going to be okay, at least for some of you. But check out the article on the main site. Alex Baker has posted. You can check it on Twitter. Just search it. You'll find Alex Baker's article. It's the most lucrative sign-up bonuses you will find at all of the sports books. You'll have the links right in the description. So go check those out. Sign up. Make sure you use that article, though. I'm telling you right now, Matt LaMarca, 3-0 right off the bat. Go follow him at Matt LaMarca. He might become the new gambling tout of the world. I would like that
Maybe.
very much.
We'll try.
Yeah. Are you excited about Starling Marte season?
I'm excited for everything Mets related through about June. Then then
Jacob deGrom falls apart. Noah Syndergaard's no longer a part of your life, and he's probably going to be really good this year. You excited for the resurgence? Noah Syndergaard?
The fact that the Angels gave him $20 million to throw like 80 innings this year, it remains mind-boggling to me. I'll have to settle for Max Scherzer instead.
Okay. Well, Max Scherzer, yeah. It'll be okay. Everybody smash that like button, subscribe button, notification bell as we get into this, because it is going to be a bonkers slate. There is tons and tons and tons of news. First of all, we just got news. Dylan Brooks going to be out 3 to 5 weeks. That is bonkers. We are waiting on John Morant, Desmond Bane. We have a lot of Memphis news here. We've got 2 games. They're going to be locking in the early window. I feel like with just 57 minutes and an 8-gamer on tap, we'll talk a little Washington, Orlando, and New Orleans, Toronto as we get closer to that lock, because it's an hour away until the next grouping of games, so on and so forth. And then we're both excited about Thompson, Klay Thompson out in the world. But Klay Thompson, we are not rostering him under any circumstances in a million years today, correct?
Correct.
Cool. Just wanted to get that out there before I see Klay Thompson's name in the chat or anything else. It's the most absurd price I've ever seen for a guy who's going to play like 18 to 20 minutes. So everybody enjoy watching him. I can't wait to watch him. But what is the piece of news, Matt LaMarca, that you were waiting on? I spoke a little bit about Memphis here, but we've got a lot of injury situations to keep our eyes on. What do you think is going to mold your lineups in the next 56 minutes?
I would say the Luka Doncic news is obviously pretty important. You know, if he's out, we're going to have to get back on some Jalen Brunson for like the 19th straight slate, which is fine with me. I'm excited for that. And then, you know, John and De'Aaron Fox, there's a lot of stuff, as you alluded to. Those, I would say the Grizzlies and the Mavs are the 2 teams that I'm most focused on at the moment.
Grizzlies, Mavs. Okay. I think that makes the most sense here. We do in this early window have a ton of news that broke about the Orlando Magic here. Wendell Carter Jr. going to be out here for this game. That is going to change a lot of my lineups here for sure. Looking at some of these players, I think we can definitely take some shots. That's, 34, 35 minutes that you need to find replacements for. So excited to talk that situation with you, but we go position by position. We will get there when we get there. As you said before, top of the guard position right now on DK. Looks as though it's going to be the Jalen Brunson show, specifically on FanDuel. 5,300 is a fantastic price tag to be paying for him there.
It's a silly price tag.
Over on, it's just like a free square at this point. But on DK, 7,400 gives you a little pause, and yet he's sub 10%, and I am getting way, way, way over the field on that. Why should everybody else be as high on Brunson as what you and I are?
Because he just continues to smash with Doncic out of the lineup. He got 37.5 DraftKings points in their last game, did it in 25 and a half minutes. He's averaging over 37 DraftKings points per game now with Doncic out of the lineup. 7,400 is just too cheap of a price tag for him. The matchup isn't ideal against the Bulls, but I still think you play him at 74 if Luka's out 10 times out of 10.
Agreed. You do. And if Luka's in, would you still get to some Jalen Brunson on this slate?
No.
You wouldn't? Okay. I think I still would at 5,300 over on FanDuel.
Yeah, okay. That's true. At 53, he's probably in play on FanDuel because you would have to think Doncic doesn't just step right into, a monster workload. Although he did only miss one game, so anything's possible, but he's going to play plenty of minutes regardless. The usage rate goes down and things like that.
Yeah, I would have him in for 32 minutes. I believe Awesemo has 33 minutes for Luka Doncic. That's fantastic. I love when we're in simpatico. That's about as perfect as it gets. I mean, if Luka plays that amount of minutes, I'm still going to have Jalen Brunson for a little bit more, around 33. That would make him viable at 5,300. On DK 7,400, I wouldn't even have to think about it. That makes it easy enough. But with Porzingis out, there's definitely some usage to be had, some shot volume to be had. I would be just fine with it here. Let's keep going down the rest of the list here at the guard position. And, we've got tons of options, and a lot of it is going to be kind of dependent on Ja Morant, going to be dependent on Desmond Bane here. I think that we would be looking at a crazy amount of Tyus Jones. And, with that game a little bit later here into the slate, it's the very last game of the slate in the late night hammer. You might have to make some assumptions in some lineups, but right now in the early window, it looks like Pelicans are all the way at the top. Everybody knows my love for Garrett Temple, even though, it's not like he's some fantastic fantasy point per minute producer, right around 0.75 on DK for the season. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 3,700. These are just really, really low tags to be seeing out of some Pelicans that should be playing quite a bit of minutes. Of course, Brandon Ingram's still there, so that's problematic. But what are you looking to do with those extremely popular plays sub 4K on DK?
Yeah, I think you have to have some. I don't know if I'm going to have an abundance. The Pelicans still have, like a few guards that they can spread the minutes out between. You've got Temple, Alexander Walker, Devontae Graham. Brandon Ingram can play some 2-guard potentially. So I don't know if it's like an abundance of value with these players. It's hard for me to ignore Nah at 3,700. He's not shy about shooting the ball when he's on the court. 0.9 fantasy points per minute this season. So if you expect him to get minutes, he's certainly solid at 3,700. Garrett Temple, I'm a little more iffy on. He's, as you alluded to, he's not the greatest on a per minute basis. He's at 0.72. And I think he's still, what do we think? 30 minutes or so, 27, 28, something like that. So
yeah, I'm looking at him playing a little bit more. We just got the official news that Gary Clark's going to sign the 2-way contract. We'll see if he ends up being activated here. They waived Jared Harper, who I don't know who Jared Harper is. That sounds like a baseball player. So I feel bad for making fun of him. If his family's watching, I apologize. But Gary Clark, I don't know if he can play some minutes here right out of the gate, but that's at least something to pay attention to. Looks like they waived him, but I thought they were just saying, just said that they signed him to a 2-way contract. So we'll see if he ends up being active here in this spot. But with no Josh Hart out there are definitely some minutes and availability here. Garrett Temple, he's got shooting guard eligibility. He's basically just a 3. So looking at Garrett Temple as being somebody at 3,400, I'm happy to get to. I don't like playing guys like that when they're popular, though. If we have other value that can show up, I'm going to prioritize that. But let's keep moving down the list here at guard. We've got some expensive guys that you could pay up for on this slate. LeBron James, point guard, small forward eligibility on DK, 11.6. It's a huge tag, but 20% because he's been really, really good. Steph Curry is going to come in with the lowest ownership of all time at 11K for a Steph Curry on an 8-game slate. So looking forward to that. We don't know about Doncic. Fred VanVleet continues to put up some massive outings, and Russell Westbrook. I don't see anybody getting attention above 9K here at the guard position. Is there anybody you might want to take a shot on for a spend up?
Above 9K. I mean, I will have LeBron, of course. I mean, LeBron is LeBron, and he's still really good at basketball. So I think you want to have some exposure to him. As far as the rest of the guys, like I really don't have much exposure to any of them. You can try and talk yourself into Steph Curry. I've been trying to talk myself into buying low on Steph Curry for a while now, but the problem is that you're not really buying low. Like the price tag continues to stay pretty steady at above 11K or around 11K. And now he has to, contend with Klay Thompson being back in the fold. So I don't see a ton there. Fred VanVleet is too expensive for me. I know he's coming off of a monster game, but I'm not paying over 10K for Fred VanVleet just out of principle. And Westbrook, again, kind of the same thing. He's been a bit of a dog recently as well. I don't see a ton of appeal here.
It's pretty brutal. I just thought I would touch on it because, again, this is a show where we talk about basketball, and I wanted to do that. Cole Anthony, he's really underpriced at 7,600 for his current role on this team. All he does is put up 43 plus fantasy points his last three. They're an abysmal basketball team. They take Wendell Carter Jr. off the floor. You see the rates go up slightly everywhere, and he's gone down in price. So that's lovely. What are we doing with the Cole Anthony and the rest of these Orlando pieces that seem a little bit undervalued with Wendell Carter out?
Yeah, I like Orlando tonight. I think Cole Anthony has a chance to be a bit overowned. We have him projected for 26% ownership right now. I would take the over on that. I think he checks in above 30, and his optimal lineup rate is down at just 13.2%. So we have Anthony as a bit of an overowned tonight, but it's hard to ignore his upside in this matchup. So I will definitely have some. But I think the rest of the roster is interesting, right? Like Gary Harris all of a sudden is starting to play basketball again, right? Kind of looking like he did as a young man out in Denver. I'm continuing to be interested in Franz Wagner at 3,100. It didn't work out for me on the last slate. I don't really care. I'm going right back to it. You've got Mo Bamba at 58 with no Wendell Carter Jr., who remains in play. Like, this is a team in a matchup against the Wizards. That's a pretty good matchup. Not going to scare anybody. So I will have a little bit of exposure to a bunch of these guys.
Yeah, looking at the boom bust tool, it kind of paints a little bit of a different picture with Cole Anthony. He's at 22.8% ownership, 15.6% optimal, and that is literally updated as of 19 seconds ago. So I'm kind of right at the field right now. Intuition tells me to go a little bit over. And as you said, he could definitely end up a little bit more popular there, but there might be some other places to mine out some positionality. And one guy that I'm just way over the field on, I feel like every single slate here, is Anthony Simons. Even at his inflated tag here, Anthony Simons, 6,500. There's just so many minutes available for him without CJ McCollum, without Damian Lillard. It is kind of ridiculous. And if they're going to stay competitive in any of these games, he just gets so much shot volume up. He hasn't even necessarily shot it that well here of late. 6 of 15, 2 of 8 from 3 there last time out. He actually shot it phenomenal the 2 games previously. I'm just thinking specifically of that Cleveland game we saw last time, but only changed $300. His price tag's gone from 6,200 to 6,500, and I still think that's too cheap. I'm going to be well over 16.4%. I love having a little extra positionality for, again, take a drink, late swap. There you go. Any Anthony Simons interest for you today?
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. You look at that last game, and what that shows is that he doesn't necessarily need to shoot the ball well to pay off his salary, right? On nights when he does make his shots, he's got upside for 45 and 60, which is what he did the previous 2 games. So I think if you say on a good night, he's getting me, 45 plus, on a bad night, he's getting me 30 plus. I'll play that guy at 6,500 against Sacramento every day of the week.
Agreed. I just think it's too good of a game environment. It is something where if that news, I'm waiting for Memphis pieces. Instead of just rostering a bunch of Memphis guys and then you get John Morant, Desmond Bane ruled in, roster a bunch of guys in the 9 p.m. Eastern time game. How about that for some late swap discussion? Get to more Sacramento, Portland, because if I get stuck with some of these Portland pieces, I don't really feel stuck when you have like Nasir Little, Anthony Simons, Yusuf Nurkich as the guys that I can get to who are all going to be pieces of my lineups, regardless of how that news comes. But it just gives me more positionality. That is the name of the game here in DFS on these 8 gamers where there's tons of late news. And once again, I think people will definitely be inclined to get to some Memphis pieces already. And if they get ruled in, you'll at least already have your lineups pretty much tailor-made for a good piece in Anthony Simons. So that's going to be my step. I won't have as much if the Memphis news falls in the direction of them being ruled out, but such is life. That should be assumed. But I never want to assume anything because of Nas Reed. That might be why. Let's talk about some of these other popular guards that are falling in the 10 to 15% range. We've got Davion Mitchell and that same game environment, 3,400. I'm boosting him. I don't like Davion Mitchell, but if I get stuck with a piece at 3,400, so be it. Gives me more swappability. Brandon Ingram, talked about him. I'm always over the field on him. Kevin Porter Jr., there's not even a joke to be made there. We're just going to keep going. Kevin Porter Jr., Tyrese Halliburton. Who are you getting to the most out of these 10 to 20% guards on DraftKings?
Yeah, for me, it's probably KPJ.
Okay.
I think that if we want, this Houston Minnesota game, right? It stands out as a potential just back and forth, high paced, high offensive output game. The total sits at 233 points. Most of the value is expected to come from the Minnesota side because they are implied for 120 points right now, top mark on the slate. But we need somebody on Houston to run it back with if we're going to keep this game competitive. So I kind of like using KPJ as that guy for me. He hasn't been, I guess, as good as you would have expected this season, but he's still averaging a fantasy point per minute. When he doesn't leave the stadium at halftime, I think he can pay off a $6,200 price tag in this matchup.
It's a sharp take. I really like that take. The guy that I'm the highest on right now is Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think De'Aaron Fox plays more than likely, and he's just a guy that, regardless of how anything happens with Memphis, I'm absolutely obsessed with getting to. So check that out, everybody. That is without a doubt going to be something I do. Oh my God, we got massive news while we're talking here. Norman Powell entering safety protocols. Holy shit. That is gigantic. Like that it came up while we're on this show, because that game doesn't happen for a while. Portland's going to become my most rostered team on the slate pretty much immediately. Everything I said about Simons still applies, but now he's just going to be drastically more popular. Yusuf Nurkich, Nasir Little, Anthony Simons, Robert Covington, even a guy like Ben Mclemore, I'm going to be getting to here on this slate. Norman Powell out. What are you going to be doing with Portland here?
Load up on them, right? I mean, they're basically down their three highest usage guys this season. Well, yeah, you add Powell to Lillard and Mclemore. There's a ton of shots available. So I even think if you want to throw Dennis Smith Jr. into the mix, he might see a few extra minutes tonight. We know how good he is on a per minute basis. So giddy up. That's my official take.
He's not on this slate, is he? Yeah, he is. He is. Josh Giddey's on this slate. It's funny how you always forget about some of these teams like immediately. He's just such a popular piece. 12.8% here for Josh Giddey. I'm not going to get to that. Brandon Bolden touchdown. We've got Tyler Higbee Day going on in the NFL. Hopefully you guys are enjoying that sweat here. I'm just updating everything here with Portland news. That is just going to be gigantic. I really don't know what else to tell you. Also, I tried to bet the Sacramento side there super, super fast, and I couldn't get it in. So that was a bummer. Those are the things you should be doing, though, if you're in New York. So check that out. Again, that article is as good as it gets. All right. Well, I don't know what else to say. Simons is going to be my most popular guard by a landslide here, probably. And we're still going to have Memphis news. I'm going to be late stacking so many of my lineups. It's just kind of ridiculous here now. D'Anthony Melton, probably going to be useful piece at 4,600 no matter what. The ownership's already up to 25% of him. But Memphis, I don't know if you're making any assumptions on how that news is going to break, but regardless, talk me through the scenarios for D'Anthony Melton in your lineups.
Yeah, Melton is somebody that we can expect to play 20 minutes off the bench regardless, and he's a good fantasy player. 1.02 fantasy points per minute this season. So that in and of itself gives him some appeal at 4,600. If you get no Ja and no Desmond Bane, I still think there's a chance Melton comes off the bench. Maybe he slides over to two guard. Certainly Tyus Jones is going to start at point guard, but you would expect Melton's minutes to trend closer to that 30-minute range. And at that point, he becomes a really strong investment. I still think I prefer Tyus at 4,200 just because if Ja is out, he's the locked in point guard. He's going to play, 34 to 36 minutes, even I would guess. And he's also an excellent fantasy producer on a per minute basis. So for me, Jones would be the top punt. Melton would be number 2. And then you can get wilder from there. If you want to play Zaire Williams at the minimum, I think you can, if they're, full on everybody who's questionable gets ruled out.
David Traub, why does it say Little has the second toughest matchup on DKNG? Because DKNG just looks at the position and it doesn't really factor in anything else. It's pretty absurd, really. They put everybody into a position and they just decide you're a small forward. And this is what they do against small forwards. Do you have anything to add to that? It's just garbage. Don't ever look at it.
The only reason you should look at it is because there are people that don't understand how it works and they won't play players if they are facing a guy with a red number.
There you go. That would be awesome. I hope people do that because Nasir Little, he's going to be like one of the most popular, if not the most popular player on the slate. So that's not going to happen. Anything else for you here from guard as we make our way over to the forward position?
Minnesota guards, I think,
yes,
are all in play for me. Be it Anthony Edwards or D'Angelo Russell. You could even get some Pat Bev if he's in. He's questionable at the moment, but I want a lot of Minnesota tonight. It feels like they are, I don't want to say being undervalued, but for the team with the highest implied team total on the slate, they're not catching a ton of ownership. Mm-hmm. So I like getting to some of their big guards and, Karl Anthony Towns, who we'll talk about later, but I think this is a potential explosion spot. They just need the Rockets to keep up their end of the bargain.
Andrew Martinez, would you recommend fading the 2 early games? Absolutely not full fading Orlando, New Orleans specifically.
Yeah, no. And I think, completely agree.
Okay, perfect. Everybody, hi. We already talked about New York being live, but let's also talk about a little bit of Yahoo here, because again, I want to be able to talk through those early 2 games. I think that's kind of worked really well for Matt LaMarca and I here on these Sundays to be able to talk about some of those plays. But Yahoo is the number 1 place you should be playing your daily fantasy action. And you want to know why? That's not, I don't know. I was trying to think of a bit there and I couldn't come up with anything. It's just the best place you can play at, period, because it's the lowest management fees / rake, also known as rake, that you're going to find anywhere in the industry. If you played NFL Sunday, negative 25% management fee for that big $20 over on Yahoo. They have the best NBA contests around the industry here as well. You need to be signed up there. And now you will also get 1 free month for new Yahoo users. If you've never played there, if you've never checked out the product, sign up at Yahoo, deposit $10 or more, and you will get 1 free month of everything we offer behind the paywall, completely free to you. 1 month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's NBA, NFL, PGA, MMA comes back this weekend. NASCAR's got a millie coming up. You're going to want to check out everything that we have behind the paywall because it pays for itself. It pays for itself instantaneously.
It's a great day to be a Tiger.
Hey, I'm Koto. I'm just telling you, go Tigers. You didn't see that one come. Oh, I'm Koto. Can't really help it. Go easy on that seagull, boy. But anyway, Yahoo is the best place that you can possibly play with your DFS action, and we absolutely love it over here. Check out their NBA 20K, Sunday Night 15s, or the 3s, or the 7s. The most important thing is you play in any of those paid contests as a new Yahoo user, and you will be all set to go. Stop guessing, start winning, join Awesemo Plus, but do it through this promotion with Yahoo. Thank you so much to them for their sponsorship of the NBA Live Before Lock show. Excited to be talking about their product day in, day out here on these streams because it is the best product, not just to build your bankroll, but to sustain and to build upon it and all the other adjectives. Go join Yahoo today. All right, guys, let's keep it on. Move into the forward spot because I do want to be able to react to some news, some changes in the boom bust tool because Portland seems really fun to talk about here. Norman Powell's out. I just made all of my minutes adjustments here, and I'm telling you, I'm getting to the most ridiculous amount of Nasir Little that you could humanly possibly imagine. I'm getting to Robert Covington quite a bit here, too. He slid back into the starting lineup here. Gary Trent Jr. just got scratched, too. We'll touch on that here for Toronto in a second, but let's just touch on Portland here first. What are you doing here with all of those wings in the absence of Powell?
Yeah, Nasir Little, very, very interesting, very strong option at 5,100. Do you prefer him or Covington? I mean, Little has a little bit more scoring upside, but Covington so much better at all the other stuff.
I prefer a lot of a little.
Okay, I think that's fair. I might prefer Rocco just because of the elevated ceiling. If we think that they're going to play similar minutes, I just love how active that dude is in all the peripheral categories.
Yeah, I mean,
And I would imagine he
good.
checks in with lower ownership than Little too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just running a lot of the on off court stuff. I mean, we're gonna have to see what that starting lineup looks like. I gotta imagine they're both part of it. They've been part of it. I can't imagine that that's going to just drastically change. I mean, Little's been starting for the last 2 months, it feels like, or month and a half for sure. Robert Covington just inserted back into the starting lineup. They ended up playing 34 minutes there from him. I can't imagine that you lose Powell and you're not going to insert him. The guy that I think goes underappreciated in this entire situation is going to be Ben Mclemore. I think taking some shots on him, they're going to need offense off the bench here. And part of it is also where that price is at. He's 3,400 over on DK. I'm looking right now at Dennis Smith Jr., 4,700 for him. That's going to be tougher to get to, mainly because he's going to be backing up Simons. Maybe they play a little bit of them together, but I feel like Mclemore is the guy who can slide in, possibly to the starting lineup. And if that news comes out a lot later, you could be in good shape. Ellaby had one start in the preseason, so we're not going to even talk about him there. Tony Snell makes the most sense as the guy who I think starts, but he's just so terrible in any of these starts from a fantasy point per minute perspective. So Ben Mclemore, I'm going to get to quite a bit, I think, just as a sneaky low-owned dart on this slate. Do you like him at all?
Yes, I like him a little bit. I don't know if he plays enough to hit like a ceiling of anything of note, but you lay out the case for him, right? He's probably the most logical player to enter the starting lineup in place of Powell. I'm a little bit more interested in Dennis Smith Jr. than you. I think that they will do some Simons Smith Jr. minutes together. So I will probably lean him in my lineups, but there's a big difference in price. We have Mclemore projected as like the way better play. So this is just me going on a tangent. And as always, you trust Alex before you trust this.
Yeah, 40. Well, I trust you. Come on now. I mean, he's the number one player in the world and does all the updates on the tools, and he's really, really smart. But you are lovely yourself. No doubt about it. 4,400 for him over on FanDuel. I could probably get down with a little Dennis Smith Jr. It'd be cool to see them start next to each other. I can't see why that can't be a thing. It's just that Portland apparently doesn't want to do that. So that's just kind of how I look at it. They've obviously played some minutes together here. It's impossible to project somebody for 38 minutes and somebody for 17 minutes and not have overlap, but just doesn't seem to be the way that they want to make that work enough. And Ben Mclemore, I think, just maybe gets slotted in there. Just pay attention to that news. We'll be able to swap onto it. It shouldn't be too terribly difficult, but let's start talking about Gary Trent Jr. just got scratched. It's kind of a fascinating one. Part of the starting unit here, plays big minutes for this team. I was probably going to get to just about nothing from Toronto. We've seen some massive ceilings from Fred VanVleet. He's way up there to a place where I just can't get. Pascal Siakam there is at 8,800. I think you can try to make that a thing. There's definitely a ceiling there, sub 9K. But Scotty Barnes, 7,400. I think that becomes kind of the guy that I didn't expect to get to like at all on this slate. Even OG Anunoby, 6,700. I might be taking some shots there. How about you?
For me, it's OG. He is cheaper. They're roughly the same on a per minute basis. OG is actually slightly better over the course of the full season, 0.98 DraftKings points per minute. He's going to have to get his minute count back up, right? That's really been the one thing. They've been, from a Toronto perspective, they've been taking it easy on him since he's come back to the lineup, playing 33 minutes instead of the 38 to 40 that a lot of these Toronto guys play on a nightly basis. So I think Anunoby becomes really interesting. I had a bit of him even before this news, so I will probably up my exposure there. Scotty Barnes, 7,400 is a little bit of a tougher sell to me, but for sure he gets a slight boost as well.
We are definitely not going to be making any mock lineups, mainly because I can't tell you what those starting lineups are going to be for Memphis and for Portland. And that's going to be a majority of the people that I roster tonight. That's at least the impression I get. Do you have that impression as well, Matt LaMarca?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Again, we're looking for some guys in this early slate that have a ceiling or that could be a great source of value. Toronto, anybody that starts for him in this spot, Svi Mikhailiuk, Kem Birch, whoever they decide to throw out there, just isn't going to look that appealing to me compared to anything we have coming up later in the evening. So you got to take all of that into consideration. And it's just going to be almost impossible for me to try to tell you, let's make some mock lineups with players I don't know if I'm going to roster or not, because I just don't know about that news. Yes. Just have all the news waiting in the wings. I know it sounds boring or it sounds repetitive, but I'm telling you, people just love to roster players that they know are starting early. They don't react to news later. There's going to be NFL. People are going to be building showdown lineups. I'm going to be watching Klay Thompson. I can tell you that much. But no matter what, you want to be back ending your lineups because there's so much great fantasy goodness in that Sacramento and Portland game, Memphis Lakers game. I just don't know what it is yet. I mean, even John Morant, I would love to get to in this spot in the event that he's a go against the Lakers, which this is not your Lakers of old playing slow. That's for damn sure. Rest of the forward spots, here we go. Who are you getting to here out of the rest of these popular guys? I mean, I really don't even know where to start with it because of how much we love those late games, but Maxi Kleber, definitely somebody you could probably go back to. Played 35 and 26 minutes, has been serviceable here. I probably like him a lot more, just so long as everybody's out there, but I think everybody else might too. J. Michael Green, he's been inserted into the starting lineup once again here. That was his first start there, played 22 minutes, and he's serviceable around 0.95 fantasy points per minute going up against OKC. Aaron Gordon even, they limited his minutes, but he still played 33, so I don't know what kind of limitation that is. Who are you getting to 10 to 20% over here on DK?
I would say Green is the guy I'm getting to the most just because I think 3,400 is too cheap if he's going to continue to see that much playing time. That's, some nice salary relief. We don't necessarily need a ton of salary relief, but again, it's too cheap if he's going to play, 23-ish minutes, 24 minutes. He had 28 and a quarter in his last game. I think he can do that again at 3,400. I also am in on Brandon Clark. I'm just kind of done with Jaren Jackson Jr. Every time I play the guy, he picks up 5 fouls. And even when he doesn't pick up 5 fouls, he heads to the bench. He only plays like 30 minutes anyway. He's coming off the monster game in his last outing. I hope everybody plays him so they can feel the painful sting of the Jaren Jackson disappointment game. I'll take the Brandon Clark side of that contest, who, by the way, is also coming off a massive game.
Yes, he is. And Brandon Clark can get things done in a limited amount of time. That's always something you want to be targeting here if you're not going to be waiting and firing up those pieces. I'm happy to be kind of mixing and matching lineups to land on a little bit of him here. He could end up really low owned with how much people are going to get to Portland and how much I'm going to get to Portland too. So have fun firing up a bunch of him here. We'll see kind of how everything lands here. Ooh, what is this lovely piece of news? I got Pat Beverly to be out for the Timberwolves. That is from the news god himself. That's always nice to see. He was unlikely to play here today, and it's confirmed he's going to be out here from the news god. That's always nice to see. Appreciate him. Check out the premium Discord in order to be able to do that. But Patrick Beverly out. You said you already like these Minnesota guards. Anthony Edwards falls into the guard/forward mix here. Taking Patrick Beverly out, who do you think starts in his place? And then is there any interest that you have guards forwards here from Minnesota as a result of around 26, 28 minutes being removed from the lineup?
For starting purposes, I mean, Malik Beasley, I guess, makes the most sense. Could be Jalen Noel. Again, though, I'm not really focusing on the value side for the Timberwolves. For me, it's the guys up at the top, the big boys. You want yourself some D'Angelo Russell, some Anthony Edwards, and some Karl Anthony Towns tonight. They're a pretty condensed team from a fantasy scoring perspective, and this is a spot where they figure to score a lot of fantasy points.
I'm with you. I like that call a lot. Malik Beasley, I think, is definitely the guy who starts. Nola hasn't started a game this entire season, which is kind of crazy because we've talked about him so much on these shows. But yeah, Malik Beasley started 2 games ago. He's been starting for a long time there. He's been abysmal. He's sub 5K, but I can't do it with those big 3 back. He has been as brutal can get. Maybe they decide to go McLaughlin as a result, but because D'Angelo Russell's out there, I'm just assuming Malik Beasley starts at the 2 and they move on with their days. Nothing else really to add there. Let's go back to the forward spot. Is there anybody that's popular right now that you are just getting way, way, way less than the field on?
Maxi Kleber is that guy for me. I wouldn't even say he's like super popular. We don't have any forward projected to be like insane chalk today, right? Only a few guys even at 20+%, but Kleber just doesn't have enough upside for me. I get it. He's capable of giving us, between 25, maybe 30 fantasy points on his best day. I need more than that at 4,400. I don't like the salary or the matchup against Chicago. There's just no ceiling to me. Like, why would I play him at 4,400 when I could play Brandon Clark at 47? It just seems like that extra $300 gives me an extra 10, 15, maybe even 20 fantasy points of ceiling. So I'm making that call every single time.
I'm with you. I think that makes a lot of sense. Being short on Kleber here in this spot, I think that the minutes are there. I've generally been playing a lot more of him, but he hasn't been like 17, 18, 19% rostered in a lot of these spots. Aaron Gordon, I'm a little bit lower on as well. Just don't really see it here in this spot. J. Michael Green starting takes away a little bit for me, as opposed to, getting some rando Jeff Green minutes in there. But looking at Josh Giddey, I have like none. Like, I have legitimately no Josh Giddey, and I love the man. He's 7K. He's so fun to watch. But Josh Giddey, I'm basically full fading on the slate. How about you?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I have none of him as well. Maybe that's a mistake. He has had some huge games since he's come back to the lineup, but at 7K, he's the type of player that I need a couple injuries for him at that price tag. I want Shea out so that he's playing point guard. So
I'm cheering for injuries tonight. Quote, Matt LaMarca. No, you
don't put words
that
in my mouth.
You didn't say that. You just said you need some injuries. You were asking it to happen. I don't know. I have 2% of Josh Giddey on FanDuel, so I want to clarify that. It's not going up from there. I have 0% on DK at 7K. That's just not going to happen for me. Anything else for you popular forwards that you want to be discussing here? I'm going through the list, and there's a lot of dudes that you can take shots on. As you said, I'm just really waiting for those starting lineups in the evening. You didn't like Jaren Jackson Jr. Yeah, he's frustrating, but I'm still going to get to a little bit of him, maybe short of that 11.3% number here. Kyle Kuzma's been out of his damn mind, I think is probably the right way of putting it. He's up to freaking 8,100 on DK. Are you going to play a freaking 8,100 Kyle Kuzma on this slate?
I haven't been playing like 6,500 Kyle Kuzma, which hasn't worked out, but there's no way I'm playing 8,100 Kyle Kuzma.
Okay. Want to at least talk about him here. There's that. I have like zero interest in trying to make Ukiki a thing down here. I'm looking at just like guys that are 5 to 10% here. There's really no other consideration. It's such a straightforward slate for me now. Just kind of wait with a lot of your lineups, take some shots on some ceilings. Again, Cole Anthony, I find impossible for me not to have a little bit of here in the early slate. I'm going to have a little bit of those studs from Toronto, just trying to target some of the ceilings. And I'm going to have not know Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but I'm not going to get close to like a 23.6%. I really don't know what else to say about these early games. I'm just not as interested anymore.
Yeah, that's a fair take. From a forward perspective, we haven't really talked about Sacramento. I will have some Harrison Barnes at 5,400. The minutes, they really have been kind of inconsistent for him of late, but they are trending at least in the right direction. He got up to 33.5 in his last game. This is a guy who, like, what did he get to? Almost 8K at one point this season. So I'm cool with buying low on him at 54. I'll have some exposure to my man, Marvin Bagley, who's coming off 29 minutes in his last game. But again, if we are in on Portland so heavily, we need some exposure to Sacramento. I think you're going to want to have it be a game where both sides are providing some value. So I know you said you like Halliburton at 6,900. I'm a little bit more interested in some of these cheaper forward plays.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just front load some of my lineups here to have some Halliburton because I think Fox, there's a very high likelihood that he is not going to be playing here in this spot. So I'm front loading with some Halliburton. It's easy to go into Fantasy Cruncher, just put one Sacramento King, and he's probably going to be the guy along with Bagley that I get to the most. Again, we have tons of news that's going to be waiting in the wings in the evening session. So, I'm just kind of willing to wait, willing to sit back and chill a little bit here and kind of mix and match my lineups here accordingly. And that's really all there is to it here. Nothing else really to bring up from the forward spot, but there's stuff to bring up with the Awesemo tools, which can help you make lineups. 19 minutes to go here. We keep referencing the boom bust tool and talking about leverage. And again, I'm just kind of updating everything. I want to be able to talk about these early games and kind of finish with that note after we talk centers, but let's talk Awesemo tools. $29.95 right now for the weekly pass. That is the premium Discord, the lineup builder, the projections, both ownership and player projections. Use the promo code NBA Live, all caps, one word, for 25% off. Your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum doesn't get any easier or better than that. $29.95 for that weekly pass, unless you use this promo code. So use the promo code. The weekly package right now for just NBA is $16.95. So for like $4 more, rough estimation of my math on the fly there, you're getting everything we offer behind the paywall. We've got a great NFL Showdown show that's going to be coming up here with EMAC, Nick Lepre, and Terry. They're going to be breaking down everything you need to know about Ravens Chargers, which got a lot less appealing than it was earlier in the day. With knee fest. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. It's going to just be, okay, legitimately, if you're both of those teams, do you kneel every play?
They won't. They don't have the guts to do it.
I know they don't, but it would be so epic because it's just like, 0-0 gets us there. And it would just be like such a big, they would get in so much trouble. It would be
so much trouble.
It'd be so fun though. What if they could find a way to make it look competitive and they just have like the handshake agreement before the game?
Oh man, the possibilities are endless. I'll have a little bit of the under just in case.
T McBee's right. 100%. Like play for the tie. Just pack it in. Just absolutely pack it in. Run every play. The New York Giants did it last week and they have nothing to play for. Why can't you do it when you have everything to play for this week? Absolute joke.
Did you see the Giants run a quarterback sneak on 3rd and 9 today?
3rd and 9. It was beautiful. Yeah. Hey, they picked up 6 yards.
Gorgeous sneak.
Like that Jake Fromm. How embarrassed must you be to be Jake Fromm? And the guy was a stud at Georgia and not a stud in the NFL. We're just going to throw that out there. Let's jump over to center where I think the conversation begins with one Nikola Jokic here on the top end. He's there. We've got Karl-Anthony Towns, who, again, it's nice to have another ceiling up there, not by the name of Joel Embiid, who's around the same price, but Nikola Jokic up to 12-2 on DK. I think we still have enough value. But do you prefer him to your boy Towns at the inflated number?
As much as I like Karl-Anthony Towns, and I will have some for sure, I'll be overweight on the 8.9% that we haven't projected for. The answer for Nikola versus Jokic versus anyone else at this moment in time, the answer is Jokic. The guy is insane. I think he deserves to win the 2nd straight MVP award. Mm-hmm. That doesn't really seem to be the way that the tea leaves are being read at the moment. But the guy, the only thing that can stop him is if he plays reduced minutes in a blowout. Other than that, you can pencil in 60 fantasy points with upside for 75. And it's just like he really deserves to be like 13.5, I think, is probably a fair price tag for him. I'm just going to keep playing him until he gets to 13.5.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. And I don't know really what to add to it. Nikola Jokic is 12-2, but we've had so much value on all of these slates that have more than 3, 4, 5 games. And then on a 3, 4, 5 gamer, you want to play him anyway because raw points matter so much. It just helps you to not have to be perfect most of these slates where he appears. He's put up 66 and 75.25. And like, legitimately, who cares about points per dollar? Like, it's just so impossible to get away from that kind of allotment when you have so much value. You got to be taking your shots there. If you full fade, best of luck to you. Godspeed. You are ballsier than I am. But Karl-Anthony Towns, I think, isn't a pivot. He's an addition to on 2 center sites. I think on FanDuel, you just kind of play Nikola Jokic and you make that work from there. Of course, no Steven Adams. You can play all these dudes at power forward with Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson Jr. So just kind of make sure they don't accidentally end up in some center spots, because I do think center is a massive, massive important position, because we've got another guy who's very popular, but he should be. His name's Yusuf Nurkich. He's 7,300 over on the FanDuel slate, and he's going to probably be my second highest owned center to Nikola Jokic. Again, so much value. I find it easier to get to a little bit of Jokic, and he's less popular than Nurkic, but Nurkic, now you lose Powell as well. He's over a 1.25. He's nearly a 1.35 guy with no CJ McCollum, no Damian Lillard. How do you get away from Yusuf Nurkic on this slate, especially at 7,200 on DK?
Yeah, you can't. He's coming off a game where he had 42 and a half DraftKings points, and he was 5 for 17 from the field. So the sky really is the limit for this guy.
Ceiling's the
roof.
Know
that's right. We know that the per minute efficiency is fantastic. He can do a little bit of everything. He can play make if they need him to. He's knocked down a couple threes in his last game. Like the guy's just, he's not Nikola Jokic. No one is, but he's like Nikola Jokic diet. You know, you can do a little bit of everything.
Oh, I like that. Just 1 calorie, not even enough. Nobody, second Austin Powers, nobody knows the Spy shagged me as much as they should, but whatever. It's fine.
That's the best Austin Powers.
It is the best Austin Powers. And yet whenever I quote it, I always get nervous because people just don't respond. People die. That's the first one. Whatever. Luka Doncic will play Sunday. Massive piece of news. React to that for me.
Doncic in. I will have some of him now. He's going to command lower ownership than he should, just because of the late news and the fact that people really only have 15 minutes until the slate locks. And Doncic is probably the one guy who can match Jokic point for point if he ends up playing, a full allotment. I don't think that'll happen tonight, but there's a possibility that it does. Jalen Brunson now becomes a pass for me at 7,400 on DraftKings. You can still, as you mentioned, get him a little bit in your lineups on FanDuel, where he's just ridiculously underpriced. But Dallas isn't really a team that I have any pieces of at the moment. I have just a smidge. Once I get all this Brunson out, it's probably going to be just a smidge of Doncic and really nothing else.
Yeah, I'm going to get to Doncic. And now Dorian Finney-Smith will play here as well. So any of your Kleba interests that you wanted to try to make a thing, just find a better thing. Just find a better thing, I think, is probably what we're getting at here. So much value coming up later. I think Luka is going to come in a little bit underutilized here. Of course, that game doesn't start here for another hour and 45 minutes, or just short of that. Over an hour and a half. That's better to kind of look at compared to the slate. I definitely think Luka Doncic is going to garner some attention here from me, but back to the center position here, kind of rounding all of that out here. Pascal Siakam, I think you can target some of these ceilings. He definitely has a ceiling. 8,800 is a much better tag than the, 9K plus we've been paying for him since his return. There's been a lot of those type slates, so been a little bit more difficult to get to for sure. What are you kind of doing with the rest of the centers? Is there anybody else that's really sticking out to you that you're getting exposure to in bulk?
Mo Bamba. I'm going back to the Bamba well. I get it. He was like the kind of the heavy chalk at the position without Wendell Carter in the last game. He played 29 minutes and he disappointed, 25.25 DraftKings points, but I don't like, nothing has changed. So the fact that I can get him now at around 10% ownership is very appealing to me. So the problem is that center is just the juiciest position on this slate. So by playing Bamba, you can't play a Nurkic or a Siakam or a Jokic or a Towns or somebody like that in one of those spots. But we can't, we can't only focus on the stud end centers. And I think Bamba in that mid-range tier is a nice play.
Let's see. Thoughts on Buddy Hield? Trent being out hurts. Trent plays for Toronto, so I don't really know what that means. But Buddy Hield, I do like Buddy Hield on this slate because, again, I play low-owned Buddy Hields. Like, I don't play popular Buddy Hields. I play him when he's really sub 5% and you're looking for a run back here on the other side. Just got word it's Fox's non-shooting arm that's sore, so he very well could play. always thought that it's a 50-50. I don't know what to tell you. Sacramento could play here. Fox could play, but I'm assuming it's leaning more towards he doesn't, because what is the point? Like, I don't understand what
Right.
the point is. So Tyrese Halliburton, I'm just hoping can be a thing. And if not, I have a million swaps. I'm not too worried about it here, but thoughts on Buddy Hield for this slate?
Yeah, I mean, the Kings got to make sure they keep De'Aaron Fox healthy if they're going to eventually ship him off to Philly. Hield is low on my list of priorities for the Kings. He doesn't really play the amount of minutes that like I'm looking for at around like a 28-minute player at 5,500 really doesn't do it for me, but there's no denying that he has upside to pop off for, 35 or something like that. So I don't love the play, but I can understand it.
All right. Anything else for you as we round out this show from the center position? Christian Wood, I guess, is one other piece that I want to get your opinion on. He's 7,300 over on DK. You can play him at power forward on FanDuel. I think that's very useful. So kind of two different reasons. He's cheap on DK, but center only. And FanDuel, you can play him power forward. That's useful. Do you like him on this slate?
He's somebody that I'm underweight on. We have
Same.
him right now in the boom bust tool as pretty negatively leveraged. And while that's also true for somebody like Yusuf Nurkich, I'm much more willing to take a stand against Christian Wood, right? There are a lot of different ways that Christian Wood doesn't get there. So I'm fine with being underweight on him and being overweight on some of the other lower owned centers, namely a guy like Karl Anthony Towns or Siakam or even Jonas Valanciunas. I think you can throw into that mix.
I'm with you. It's just the entire position. And I think Christian Wood's pretty darn popular. And I would rather, once again, just be waiting and chilling, and we'll figure it out later from there. Guys, that's kind of us position by position. Please smash that like button. We would appreciate that. We're vain. We need it. We need it for our confidence. I need it for my confidence.
Vain.
Thank you. Carole King, greatest songwriter of all time. I just believe that to be true. Her with James Taylor is one of the greatest little albums nobody's ever talked about, playing together at the Troubadour. Check that one out as well. Her and James Taylor being good friends. And I'd say the combination of the two is just absolutely outrageous. Also outrageous is Trevor Simeon's out there throwing Taysom Hill's touchdowns. I don't feel good about this. This is a bad day. Whatever. 7 minutes to go, everybody. But yes, smash that like button. Get some questions in. Let's take a look. Oh, yeah, Carly Simon. That's who I meant. Carly Simon. Thank you. That's what I meant. I thought it was Carole King, though, that did that one. Wasn't it Carole King who wrote that? I thought Carole King wrote that song, at least. Maybe not. Maybe I'm out of my mind. But regardless, let's do this. Your favorite plays from this early window here. You don't necessarily have to be site specific here. I can kind of bring that together here. But we've got Washington at Orlando, New Orleans at Toronto. Recap anything that people need to know, because that game locks, and then it's another hour till anything else does.
Yeah, so that the first game, Washington versus Orlando, for me, it's Bamba on the Orlando side. I think he is underpriced with Wendell Carter out of the lineup, and I'm much happier to take chances on him now as a low-owned pivot as opposed to when he was like a chalk play on the last slate. I'll have some Cole Anthony too at 7,600, but I don't know if I'm going to have him at the same level as the rest of the field. I'll have some Gary Harris exposure as well, but no one really for the Wizards, unfortunately, even though they are the favorites in that contest, clear edge and implied team total. The next game, you've got Toronto and New Orleans. The Toronto side becomes very interesting with this news that Gary Trent Jr. isn't going to play. I think Fred VanVleet remains too expensive for me at 10,200. I don't really want to get to that price tag, even with Trent out of the lineup. I would rather go with Pascal Siakam at 8,800. Wish he had more than just center eligibility on DraftKings, but such is life. You can't always get what you want. I'll take some OG.
Always get what you want.
I will take some OG at 6,700. And it looks like Kem Birch is going to start as well in this lineup.
Oh, interesting.
Again, center is so good that I don't know if I necessarily want to use one of those spots on a Kem Birch, who's not the greatest per minute producer, but
you can play him power forward on FanDuel.
Sure. There you go. That makes sense to me. And on the other side of that game, you've got New Orleans. The guards become a little bit more appealing now because I don't think they're going to be as heavily chalk. They will probably still catch ownership, but I don't think we have to worry about Alexander Walker or Gary Temple approaching that like 30 plus type % range at this point. So I'll have some exposure to both of those guys. I have a little bit of Jonas Valanciunas. I have a little bit of Devontae Graham. Not much Brandon Ingram, but again, I get it. I get why you would play him. I just don't really play Brandon Ingram very often. And that's kind of it for me on these first two games.
All right, looking over at FanDuel, I mean, Scotty Barnes is a much different play, 6,300. I think he's fantastic over there and pretty tough to get away from. We've got Rue Sparks saying that J-Val is a lock. He is not a lock. No center is a lock on this slate. There are too many good ones to say one is a lock, because I can promise you, if you're making just one lineup, maybe he's a lock for your lineup, but there are so many centers that can go nuts, and trying to tell me exactly which way it's going to build is almost impossible. So build more than one lineup. And then Alexander, a lock. Alexander Walker, an absolute lock. Definitely not. He's a good play, but I'm going to be underweight to him simply because I want more of the plays there coming up later in the evening. So I'm going to find my way onto some of those. That's just kind of the way I feel about that. Anything else for you that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, he's also not starting. I don't know if we anticipated him to start or not. Probably no would have been my guess, but
yep.
The fact that he is not going to start certainly means he is not a must play.
Yeah, I have 5% on FanDuel, and I feel great about that. He's 4,200. I get it, but we could be looking at tons and tons and tons and tons of value coming up here later. Do not give me Nickeil Alexander-Walker as 20% chalk over on FanDuel. That's just not what I want to be doing. But 3 minutes left, everybody. Make sure you get your lineups in. Did you talk about Okiki? Yeah, I have 0%. How about you?
0.
Legitimately 0. What about Alex Len? 0%.
Also 0.
I do not use a center spot on Alex Len. I swear to God.
I only play one big man in Sacramento, and his name is Marvin Bagley.
You understand? I touted Marvin Bagley the other day. I might have to, like, normally I just push back on Marvin Bagley. I'm kind of in with you as long as, everything looks the way that it does here in Sacramento, which is dog shit. And he's going to continue to play a lot of minutes. THT, he's dynamite. Not for me.
Never.
Not never. Come on, Iowa State, show some respect, but like not today. Just can't do it. Let's see, 4 players in my NFL cash line. That doesn't help. Brunson fine, even with Luka back.
Okay on FanDuel, not in play on DraftKings.
Exact same take, and I'm starting to come around to think that he'll still be popular over on FanDuel, so something tells me I might get off even less than the 12% I still have of him there. Again, just Luka Doncic, massive dude to have back there. Favorite play on DraftKings for the entire day period?
Favorite play on DraftKings? I think the guy that I own the most right now is Brandon Clark.
Okay. Mine is an 8,400 Russell Westbrook on FanDuel. I don't know how that number ends up being a thing, but I'm over 50% there. And relative to everybody else here on the slate, I think he's just an absolute smash. By the way, you can play Alex Len at power forward on FanDuel, 4,500. I find that to be less egregious. Just wanted to clarify that. Lions won. Oh my God, lost first pick. I don't know if they actually lost it.
Right, because the Jaguars also.
Jaguars were always going to get it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. The Jaguars entered the day with the worst record.
Okay, got it. Who else had all the Cyril Grayson? Did he die? What happened? I don't know. I had Cyril Grayson. I thought he was going to play. I'm telling you, no. THT been heating up. THT is the most impossible guy to say, when he's going to go nuts. 4,900 for him here. He's played 30 plus the last 2. Maybe I can give a couple of shots his way. Again, I'm going to be building a lot of my lineups as the day goes on. So again, I don't know who I'm even going to be rostering outside of, I know I'm going to have a ton of Portland. Let's see. We've got 30 seconds. Make sure you all have your lineups in. If you have any other questions here, Jalen Green at 5K, a lock. No, not for me.
Not a lock, but I don't hate it at 5K.
Okay. 5K over on FanDuel. I'm probably not going to get there. I have 4%, so never mind. Out of my 50 lineups, y'all, we are at lock. This was fantastic. Again, an 8-gamer, lots of news happening as we went along. We kept it pretty much on track, more so than I might normally have for an NBA Live Before Lock, where we're trying to do the condensed version. Hopefully you got something. Hopefully you were helped out. God, Matt LaMarca was surely helpful to me. How you doing, my dude? For your lineups, you got everything set to go. Anything else you want the people to know as we get out of here?
We're good, baby. Enjoy the final NFL game of the season or the return of Klay Thompson or both.
Or both. All I know is that you can definitely enjoy the NFL a lot more if you guys check out that show that we have going on at 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. EMAC, Terry McBride, and Nick Lepre, they're going to lead you up to lock of this Vegas Raiders and Chargers game. Again, showdowns still exist. I don't care that there might be nothing to really play for here in this spot, but cheering for a tie, because that would be fantastic and really, really disgusting to watch. And that's kind of the way every showdown has been here for the NFL. Matt LaMarca, thank you so much for your expertise. It was an absolute blast. Thank you so much to Jordan Klein behind the virtual glass. Just grinding today. Absolutely grinding. Just there on every single show. Appreciate you, my dude. I'm Eric Lindquist. Thank you so much to Yahoo Fantasy. We're out of here.